rather than large worlds that you enter into through portals. These things would be everywhere, much like no sales pitches apparently. But what I do is I work for M series within Nokia, which are the multimedia devices. There is a standing punishment from the macho national service force. Sorry for some of the Finns in the audience, but they can only get on the floor and give them 20 if you refer to these things as phones. You have to call them social multimedia computers. So they will be referred to a lot. But I didn't do this work I'm going to talk about in my current job. I did it in my last job at Nokia, which is a group called NET, which is the Network Experiences team. And it's a very small team. Were things that you can do with profitable social media computers when there were more than 3 of them together. So, and there are a couple of ubiquitous computing is already here, and again, to paraphrase another famous author, it's just not evenly distributed. It's also not very good. It's very messy. It's very hard to configure, but it is here. It's practically here. The other thing that informed our work was that we weren't very interested in being inside screens. We were interested in being in the world. We were trying to use these things as things that were with you, not to our work. Another thing that we wanted to do, sorry, going off the script horribly, I'm trying to go very fast. So one way that we try to work is to also investigate things which are human universals. It's slightly controversial for any sort of human scientists in the room, but an author called Donald Brown proposed a list of 200 concepts which are present in all cultures around the world. Well, you kind of get the idea. There'll be a test later. One of those human universals is play. It's not just a human universal, it's an mammalian universal. All mammals play. And what we tend to like to do is to take one of these big gaseous concepts and try and research it and drill down into it and see if we can find any opportunities for making things better within there. Long quote. Never mind. Why is play something we thought was interesting with Nokia? Well, one of the things that we have problems with when we start making things which aren't familiar devices like phones, we start to try and take things into new realms, are the legibility and the ease of use and the ease of understanding of what we're doing. And one of the ways in which animals and humans try and understand the world and the things in their world is to play with them, see their edges, push their edges. And that's really what we were trying to drill down into, is how can we use play to get people to trial and reuse and understand and explore new services, new capabilities that their devices can give them. My device is not giving me any capability. Secondly, I'm one of the best with my pixel chisels working on just purely software and digital things. I'm shouting. Okay. Is it on? Is it on? No. Is it on? No. You gotta pull it out. How about this one? Should I just stand? Should I just do that? Okay. I like shouting. So one of my favorite things is sitting in a big room full of industrial designers who actually make things. And working with them is the most fun. Industrial design professor from Toronto, I think, Alexander Manu, posed a thesis around industrial design and shaping things, which is about which he calls tool toys. And it's about, I couldn't sort of explain the thesis, but this is a picture from Flickr of the moment on a Christmas Day afternoon when stealing the toys from the children. This is something I still have very deep scars within me from, and now I plan to inflict it on a new generation, actually stealing their toys. But it's that lovely moment when adults start to kind of play with things and maneuver them and try and work things out. And I love the look on this guy's kind of slightly confused at the kind of the thing which a 6-year-old's been playing with, you know, with no confusion at all. It goes so quickly. Level 1 is about the research that we did. We did some very limited, very rapid ethnography in Shanghai and in the New York State area. And a couple of things came out. This is a quote from, I think, the New York area, which was about the division of a polarization that's happening around this area of play, generational as well. There's a great swathe of people who are kind of almost reverting back into a kind of ancient Greek mentality of the gods are playing with them and it's no use, fate is what it is and the system is what it is. And then there's a whole other bunch of people who revel in wrangling and blowing apart and reconfiguring these systems to their ends, and they seem to be doing this through the mode of life which you might characterize as play. And this quote is really nice. It's kind of the people who have gone through the kind of play rapture, if you like, feeling a little bit sorry for those who have been left behind. And we saw this again and again and again, and so we were kind of trying to understand how these two sides were relating to each other, how they were growing or shrinking, and it did seem to be pretty much generational. I'm going to go quite quickly through this stuff. If you are interested in looking more into research, come and grab me in the next 2 days and we can do it properly. Oh, that didn't work. Anyway, now it works. So, to some, that's really, to sum up, the two main megatrends driving the rise of play in the world are these two things. One is the kind of rampant digitization of nearly everything everywhere, which basically gives everything a score. And if it's got a score, it's a game. And if it's a game, you can play it. And basically these things and the internet quantizing the world, sensors which are starting to become more and more pervasive will only increase this. But some of the nice quotes we've got back from research, one of the biggest, most influential and disruptive technologies in the last couple of years fell out of a lot of conflict packets. Which were tiny, free digital pedometers. And this was the greatest, most disruptive play technology that the world has seen in the last 2 years. It turned the world into a game for people who had never played games before. When they were dropping their kids off at school, they got to kind of 9,998 steps, and they had to go, you know, and get the high score and go for 10,000. And it's this digitalization drive which is giving things scores, making things playful. Make a set, and then the setting is the incredible rise in city making, which we're seeing. We're becoming a city-based species, and as I said before, the big split again is generational, and cities are the setting for most of the world's young people. 84% of the world's young people live in cities, according to ESA. So those two megatrends then drive these micro-trends that we wrote about play. So we've talked a little bit, these first three are all about the kind of digital stuff, gives it a score, turns it into play material, let's play a game. This is one we call solidified socialization, which is about every conversation, every interaction between people, which is now digital, now becoming like a game. One where you collect friends, or one where you try and fit email messages into threads, like a kind of crazy game of argument Tetris. This is basically about the digitalization of conversation and socialization, turning that into a game. things like webcam-type visual recognition games like Sony's iToy. Gyms are becoming, if you go into a very advanced gym, you don't know whether you're exercising or playing Counter-Strike. Dance Dance Revolution is, I don't know how many people have seen somebody play a really amazing game of Dance Dance Revolution. Okay, we need to go out together. This must be again about kind of just the materials. It's just about everything being cheap and a generation not being afraid to break things. In London, there's a rate. I think it actually came from America, like everything except for Pop Idol. Dorkbot, where people kind of wet their fingers and stick them into electronic instruments to make different noises. They take things apart. I don't think I need to tell many people in the room about kind of hacker play. But the second, my background is architecture, so I sort of gravitate. I've been spending kind of 12 years trying to get back to it somehow, and I'm starting to get there. This next set of trends are about space. This is a trend that we saw called Truly Playful Spaces, which is about, lots of trends are about pendulum swings. And if you think about the pendulum swing that's been for the last 20 years or 25 years even, towards very authored space. People imagining spaces, experience designing spaces. There's now a kind of pendulum swing or a pushback to a middle ground where there's some authorship of the experience in a space. But then it's also, the final part of it is completed by the inhabitants, which is something which architects will probably say to you is absolutely fantastic in public, but then in private they'll go, horrible people in my building, get them out. So the best example of this I can talk about is an art project which was in the Tate Modern maybe a year and a half ago called the Weather Project. Where the artist Olaf Eliasson he has a very beautiful Icelandic name, which I would only know. Olafur Eliasson. Thank you. 10 points. The great thing about this is it's an artwork which then people started to turn into a play space. The artwork, in order to create it, had a massive mirror all the way across this giant turbine board in the Tate Modern. First reaction of people going in was of complete awe, drowned world, oh my god, I'm feeling something primal within, that's a beautiful piece of art. Second reaction they had was, ooh, a giant mirror on the ceiling, let's lie down and make our own names. Which is what they did in hundreds and thousands over time as they played in the space. I think Olaf actually really hated that. But we really loved it. Just-in-time situationalists. This was our fancy art school name for flash mobs. But it's about, again, everybody having a connected thing in their pocket which allows them to reprogram or give the space around them a new agenda, much in the way as the situationalists wrote about 30 years ago. This one we called Reclaim the Streets, which again was about just if all of you live in cities, that's your new nature, that's your new backdrop, what do you do with it? You play it, you reclaim it, you turn it to your own program. The rise in the invention of urban sports over the last 10 years was really what we're looking at here. Free running, the parkour, buildering, which is caving, or it's kind of exploring and charting and invading deserted buildings and sharing the information of what you map, much as kind of hikers or cavers or potholers, spelunkers did in the past. This is one of my favorites, search and deploy. And this is kind of the feedback loop between people writing on the city and people discovering the writing on the city. And if you look at the rise in invention in tagging and graffiti since camera phones came on the scene, you can see that this is a kind of a self-perpetuating system. And my last favorite one, which the guy's doing research called Mundane is the New Fun. kind of tool toys thesis of Alexander Manu, that as at the moment, maybe we have only 5 or 6 years until we do have to kind of hunt rats on the street again. But at the moment, we don't really have to want for shelter or hunt for our food or do anything that dangerous. All of the things which previously we had to do to ensure our survival, we're now turning into fun things. And the more mundane, the better, because the lower the barrier to entry into these things, the higher the social factor, the socialization. So knitting, gardening, cooking, all of these things which previously you had to do to prevent, nature taking over your domain. We've gone beyond doing it just as a hobby or a simple pleasure, and now we're making it baroque. So what did we do with this research? Well, if I had to pick 3 strongest filters that we had when we were doing the synthesizing of this, they would be these books. The Ambiguity of Play by Brian Sutton Smith, fantastic book. The Play Ethic by Pat Kane, which is a kind of half autobiography and half meditation on play. And then kind of hardcore game design theorist book, The Rules of Play by Katie Salen and Eric Zimmerman. And from the other thing that we did is we said we're stupid, we don't know anything about this. Let's go and find the best 14, 15 people we can and put them in a room and listen. And this is something we did a lot of, which is kind of gathering people we thought were interesting, fun and clever, and putting them in a room and standing well back and giving them lots of Red Bull. And this is a still from a film that a guy called Justin Hall did. And this is Doug Church, who is an amazing guy, amazing games designer. And I just take this still as again, it reinforces what we were finding out through what we should be using, taking away from play in the mobile space, and why it's so suited to the mobile space as well. So from the Rules of Play book, we took, this was the icon which stayed with us through the project quite a lot, which was this kind of, in the kernel, or the heart of it is gameplay, very formal systems for creating fun and enjoyment and play and puzzle. At the edge of it is being playful, making up stupid nicknames, being coquettish, whether it's kind of a cat messing with a ball of yarn, or it's college guys playing with frisbee. There's setting, object, and play, and that's what we explored. And what do we do? We did all sorts of stuff, and it was really great. I will introduce to you the iceberg of play, which is something we kept drawing on the wall of our room. And at the sort of sunlit top of the iceberg of play are the small toys, the tiny things that just make you smile and give you some idea of what you're dealing with when you're playing, the model that you're trying to explore. They generally lead you down deeper and deeper, down to the gnomic, fluxoid, dirty, wonderful, deep bottom of the iceberg. So what we wanted to do was build a prototype, casual, solo-cated social play in place. Then online social play, something which was illustrated beautifully this morning by Bruno. And then online creative play, reconfiguring play. You've decided what the rules are between you, now let's break them and make some new ones. We created a bird feeder, basically. We created a window into a garden, which was on the phone. It had a one-click interaction. All you could do was leave a nut in the garden, and then nothing happened. And then nothing happened. And then at some point your device would chirp, and a bird would arrive, and then another one click, and you can take a picture of it. And that's enough of a toy to make people happy. You don't have to do very much. You just have to. I'll show you some screens. So this is the game screen.